In today's video, I am showing off a thread pool system for C++. It runs on the server I have and allows for multiple people to play my game at the same time. And the game I have been working on is called Fight Poker, which is an online 1v1 poker game. And before this, the game would work where the server would launch and only 2 people could connect to it with a client, and only one game could run at a time. But now, using this thread pool system, there can be multiple people playing games at once, and the server load is still low. So that is what this video is about, explaining how my thread pool system works and how I use it in my game. Alright, so the way I implement this at first is in our main file for the server, call std thread hardware concurrency, which gets the number of threads we have available, and then I create 50 games. And all those games are created inside of a game manager class. This class sends functions to a thread pool and has this big vector of games, and then you can call a function called start game to add a game to that list and set it up. And then in the thread pool class, when it's constructed, we run through this for loop for the number of threads we have, and for each one we create a thread, and then we have this little function inside of it which sleeps it until this condition variable is met, which is when a function is sent in, and then we notify it to wake up, or we notify one thread to wake up. It will do the job, and then it goes back to sleep. So we can just keep adding functions to this queue. Each time a function's added, one thread will be tasked with completing it, and then once it's done, it goes back to sleep. And the result here, as you can see, we have 50 servers started, and each has their own port. So each of these servers is a game, and the client is able to connect into that game, which allows for 2 people to play at the same time, as someone can play on server 0 and someone else could play on server 1. So now it was working, however I had a few issues with it. One of the main ones being that before you launched the game, you had to open up a console and enter which lobby you wanted to connect to. And one of the issues with this is if someone connects to lobby 4 and someone else connects to lobby 12, they're both just going to be sitting in queue, even if it could match them against each other. And there is a way to make it so that people are matched against each other and you don't have to directly enter the lobby number. However, it's a lot harder if each game is its own separate port and server. So my solution was to have one central server that sends user input to the games, and that central server is the only port, and then each of the games is dynamically created and destroyed as needed, since in the old one there's a set number of games, 50 in that case, but it could be more, and if there's 51 people playing, it just wouldn't work. So the game manager class is now the server interface, and it has 2 unordered maps, player list 1 and player list 2. And when a player readies up, it alternates adding them between player list 1 and player list 2. And whenever someone is added to player list 2, it makes a game. And making a game links both players, so 2 players that don't have a game, inside their unordered maps to a game, and sends a function to the thread pool. And that function updates the game, and then gets in this while loop where it sleeps until user input, processes the user input, sleeps, and repeats. And whenever the server is messaged, it calls the game who's tied to the user. So in that unordered map, whatever the user is, it will call the game attached to it and send the message there. And it's all the same code as before, just now all the input and server stuff is handled on the game manager, and it is sent to the games, and the games can sleep until they are given updates. Alright, so now it is working, and now multiple people can play games, and there's no need for a console to input lobbies, and this scales dynamically based on the number of players. Hope you enjoyed this video, and if you want to learn more about the game, you should click on this video here where I explain my process of making the main menu for Fight Poker. And until next time, see ya.